system. Organ systems work together to make what? The organism, so the whole piece. So as far as the kidneys go, we have 2 kidneys. And what else do I need in this picture? You guys help me. The ureters. So, okay, how many? 2, yeah. What else do we need? A bladder, yeah, and a urethra, good. And a urethra. What else? So inside, so we'll go, there's one more thing we need for the organ system, the urinary system. Or 2 more things, really, but what? Arteries, good. So like my suggestion was arteries are coming away from the heart, so your heart would be up here somewhere. And your arteries from your heart, so with the nice oxygenated blood, is going to come down to your kidneys. Okay, one more thing we might need. So all that blood's getting into our kidneys. Is it just staying there? No, what brings it out? Renal veins. So the veins are going to come back out. And then it's going to go back up to your lungs somewhere. So we'll talk about that more later. So after it comes out of the kidney, it's deoxygenated. So it doesn't have as much oxygen anymore, so it's going to go get reboosted up there in the lungs somewhere. So that's basic organ system. So your kidney, ureter, bladder, urethra. And then you have your renal arteries. And they go into the kidney. And then you have your renal veins leaving. So I'm just doing a review for the kidney. So just for your test tomorrow, just a review. Okay. So that makes up our organ system. Well, I can't stay there forever. This is the exact same thing that's in your book anyway. And so I'm doing this because you guys can tell me what to do. It's kind of as a review. Well, that's just part of your big vein going back up to the no, renal arteries coming away from the heart and going into your kidneys. Your renal veins are going to come out of your kidneys and they're going to be carried away. Yeah. And I also passed out a description of just it goes from one thing to another there as far as kidneys, how they function. So you have one of those in your desk back there, I think. Okay, so as far as your whole kidney goes, what do we need for your whole kidney? So what's this outer part here? The cortex. What else is made up? What else are we going to find in there? Wrote where? That's okay, you can ask. Renal arteries go into kidney. What, sorry? It's okay? Yeah. All right. What other parts are we missing in our kidney? All kinds of stuff, yep. So our nephron, so that's going to be something little in here. So let's just do a little nephron here. So there's literally like 1,000,000 nephrons. So that picture is way, way bigger than what it's actually going to be. But generally, you're going to find it starting up here in the cortex. Nephron. What else do we need? Medulla. Where's that going to be? Do you want to come draw it on? Somebody want to draw it on? What's a medulla? If you just look at your picture, you probably... Yeah, so generally it's kind of like a pyramid-shaped structure. Oh, that's not a pyramid. In here. So it's just another part of the kidney. We don't have to worry too much. We didn't really get into the physiology of that piece, so that's okay. But inside a medulla, you're going to find some nephrons too, right? Your ureter? Yeah. So where am I going to connect my ureter? Yeah, what's this opening called? What's this opening where the ureter is connected to? Yeah, the renal pelvis. So there's kind of like this collection area in here. So when all of our nephrons make their urine, they're going to go down the collecting ducts and kind of collect in to this area here. So a renal pelvis. So we have a ureter. What else are we missing? Renal arteries. So our renal artery, make that guy red maybe. I tried doing that once and it didn't work. I don't know. I don't want to mess things up if they're working. Yeah, okay. So our renal artery is bringing its nice oxygenated blood into our kidney. Okay. Anything else we should add? Our renal vein. Does that change the color? Okay, let's try. So our renal vein taking our deoxygenated blood back out of the kidney. Are we missing anything else? Is that pretty much it? That's pretty good. See, is my drawing way better than the textbook? Oh yeah, yeah. Sometimes even if my drawing sucks, sometimes it helps just to go through the steps and to think about it. Okay, so next we're going to take a tiny piece of that kidney and we'll do the nephron. So where do I start with the nephron? Bowman's capsule. So what leads into Bowman's capsule? Yeah, a little oxygenated artery. Okay. Okay, so after our artery, then what happens? What does our artery create? A glomerulus. So that's this nice, funny looking guy here. And what does that do? What happens right here? Yeah. So that's kind of like your little filter. All your blood goes in there, and blood pressure is forcing water and things and all of the things that are in your blood that you might need filtered out into So it goes out into, someone already said, what does it go, what is around this? Bowman's capsule. So I better add our glomerulus. I grew up in the age of spell check too, so don't judge me. And so Bowman's capsule. Okay, so then what happens? What's that? Which tubules first? Proximal tubule. So the way I remember proximal and distal, because that applies to anything, like even if you're talking about the proximal part of your arm or the distal part of your arm, if you think of close proximity, that's closer, right? So the proximal tubule is going to be closer to the start. So right here we'll start the proximal tubule. Okay. So the proximal tubule will start. What sort of things happen there? What starts to happen in the proximal tubule? As soon as it comes out of here, it's filtrate. And then here, we're going to start what? Yeah, which is called reabsorption. Yep. Okay, we'll do that after. I'll write that in after maybe. So after our proximal tubule, then what do we have? You do have to have your artery. So that's good. I will add that after I finish the tubule. It'll just make it less messy, I think, maybe. So the proximal tubule turns into what? Loop of Henle. Is this the class you slept through? So that was Tuesday then, I think, right? Okay. So the loop of Henle. So that's part of. This is part of the nephron.
This is a nephron.
This whole deal is a nephron. Yep. Nephron. You worked a night shift?
Yeah.
I would never be able. I can't stay awake on a 5-minute drive home after a night shift. So after our loop of Henle, then what is it? Our distal tubule. So that means further away. So distal literally is going to mean further away. So as long as you can remember close proximity, you should be able to remember that, the proximal tubule. Distal tubule, loop of Henle. Oh, look at my writing, guys. Okay, then what comes after your loop of Henle? Or sorry, the distal tubule. The collecting duct. Yeah. And where does the collecting duct lead to? Not the bladder. First, the renal pelvis. So remember back here, I said this opening right here, the renal pelvis. So first, the nephron goes into the nephron, goes into your collecting duct and into the renal pelvis, and then the ureter, and then the bladder. Okay, collecting duct. No, you won't. Okay, so there's your nephron. So let's, oh yes, I have to add my guys here. So then also your artery starts up here and starts looping around. And as it goes, it's collecting things. go off here. Look at that. Okay, so now let's go through, so that's the anatomy. So anatomy is the structure of it. So the physiology of it, we already talked about a little bit. So our blood comes in here to the glomerulus, and the glomerulus filters. We already talked about that. So blood pressure kind of forces some stuff in here. What is this stuff called? Filtrate. So it's not called urine yet. And what is filtrate? What is mostly in there? What is mostly in there? Water. It does have urea, but remember, if our Bowman's capsule went directly to our bladder and we peed, we would dehydrate very, very fast. We would never be able to live. We would never be able to keep up with drinking enough water if we just excreted the filtrate, because it's so much water. That's why the rest of this is so important, to recollect some of that water that got forced out into Bowman's capsule. So it continues along our nephron. So you guys already said it. So what's happening here? So there were a few words or a few terms we used. So this was called, right here at Bowman's cast, was filtration. Filtration's happening. So what's happening here as we go along here? Reabsorption. So what's happening when things are reabsorbing? Going back into our bodies. So reabsorption means that stuff is coming back out. So it's coming back out of the filtrate back into our bodies, because our bodies didn't really mean to get rid of all of it. So we will reabsorb. So we will reabsorb a lot of this stuff. Where does it get reabsorbed into? What's picking it up? What's picking up the water and the glucose and our blood, so our circulatory system. So that's a big reason why it continues. So our artery and our vein continues here. It's going to pick that stuff all back up that it didn't mean to get rid of. Go ahead and ask if you have a question. This is blood coming in our artery. Yep. Yep. Okay, so our filtrate's traveling down the loop of Henle, coming up into the distal tubule. So what's the last kind of thing that happens? Generally more towards the distal tubule. Secretion. So what is secretion? What's secretion? Yeah, so secretion is the third kind of step of our filtrate. And that's when some things from the blood are going back in at this point. So what kind of things might that be? Drugs, poisons, hydrogen ions. So that just means our blood's pH. That's going to help our blood not to be too acidic or too base. Okay, so then we come down here into the collecting duct. So what is it called now? It is now urine. Here in the collecting duct, it's what we commonly know as urine. Isn't that much better than the book? I don't know, it's just... What? Is it? So you said hers are really bad, so... Let's see. She actually admitted that to me. She said, I drew a lot of stuff, but it all sucked, so... Okay. Oh, potential energy. Not this test, but there's multiple choice questions that you might have, structure, function, right? But on this test, there's nothing. It's multiple choice. Yep. Here's a nephron here, this little guy. But really, there's like millions of them here, so that would be huge compared to. They are within the cortex of the kidney. Yeah. And they loop down in here too, like in the medulla part. So there's other tissues in the kidney, though. It's not.
All of those little nephrons.
All of those millions of nephrons make pee. That's what they do. Okay. So do you guys have any questions? So we have our organ system, our organ, and our little nephron that makes pee. So actually one thing we were missing after we come down here, what's happening? So our first step was filtration, reabsorption of the stuff we didn't really mean to get rid of, secretion, getting rid of a few more things, and then down here is what? Excretion, so getting rid of it. So does it help at all if I draw it? I don't know. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right, good. I am going to try to put it all on D12.